I'm Sadie Durton, and this is my son, Carter. That's my husband, Thomas, and my other son, Cooper. I found out that Carter had Down syndrome on his when he was born, but I was told that I had a chance of having a child with Down syndrome that was pretty significant, and I had been raped. That's how Carter ended up in my belly. I had been scheduled for a hysterectomy, and I went in to have my hysterectomy from having uterine cancer. And while I was on the operation table with IVs in, getting ready to have surgery, a nurse came in and said, "Oh, we need to go do a pregnancy test." When I found out I was pregnant with him, I was told I wouldn't be able to carry him to term. Because of cancer, they said I'd miscarry. And I was still pregnant, and I had my oncologist, ironically, was the doctor on call when I went into labor and had to come back in that room and tell me he was wrong and that I was going to end up having a baby. Now, granted, he was right about the Down syndrome thing, but obviously I win. I believe that God has guarded me through a lot of things, but yes, God actually, and if you look at my Facebook page, it literally says, if you don't believe in God, give me 15 minutes, because the stories I can tell. Carter was born with a heart condition. Wasn't supposed to make it through that. He had bilateral skull fractures and bleeding on the brain, but surprisingly had no long-term effects from that and ended up healing up and was able to get out of the hospital a week later. He has caught RSV, which is supposed to be a child killer. He ended up with pneumonia several times, was cured from that. Bilateral lung conditions that were supposed to make it impossible for him to have his lungs grow. He has now gone to a point where he is 7. He's on no medication. He doesn't take any supplements of any nature. And from what you guys have already seen, he's pretty much a normal kid that talks a little funny. Like, he is capable of doing any and everything every other 7-year-old in the whole wide world can do. Carter has changed my life in a lot of ways because I have to test my faith a lot more in trusting that he's gonna do some of the things other kids do. And I have to trust that I'm doing the right thing as a parent by treating him like everyone else. I tell a story. I have a person that calls me every once in a while to touch base with me because Carter accidentally dialed her while playing with my phone one day. And it turned out that she had a child with Down syndrome that had recently passed away. And so she called me back after he had accidentally dialed her number and told me, "I don't know why this happened, I don't know how this happened, but I had just taken a very large number of pills and was going to end my life when your son called. And because it was a number I didn't recognize, I answered the phone. And he sounds so much like my son who just passed away. Would your son happen to have Down syndrome?" I talked to her while she drove to the hospital and got help. And every once in a great while, she still calls and talks to Carter. It's very helpful to have someone who knows what you are dealing with. And at the same time, it's also good to see other kids that are like your child, because there's gonna be days when you feel a little sad about what's going on with your kid. But when you have a child with Down syndrome, you will find an extra little comfort in talking to another parent that knows what you're going through with your kid.